Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the internet's number one success podcast, Into the Mind, where we break down and analyze the characteristics, strategies, and stories of successful entrepreneurs, investors, and just high achievers so that together we can learn from their mistakes, be inspired by their victories, and replicate their formulas for success. I'm your host, Marlon Johnson, former parkour athlete, now real estate investor and entrepreneur, and I am on a mission to become a multimillionaire before 30, just so I could teach others how to do the same. Today, my guest is a gentleman who represents that opportunities still exist for people who are willing to dream big and take action. He came from a small town in Michigan, is a former rapper, which I just found out. He's a current entrepreneur, and he has this amazing superpower that allows him to get aligned with some powerful and intentional leaders across multiple industries. He and I met a few months back at a local real estate meetup hosted by Ryan Zolan, and I immediately could feel the positive energy just vibrating off of this guy. We got to talking, and I learned that he headed marketing with Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins during the launch of their Knowledge Broker Blueprint, which, funny enough, was the first digital course I ever actually purchased. So in today's episode, we're going to deep dive into his origin story. We're going to learn what life was like coming from a small town, how he made the transition into a new marketplace, the importance of proximity to the right people, what difference marketing makes in your business, the mindset needed to grow and thrive in a changing environment, and what he's currently working on with Ryan Zolan and the launch of their investor agent. So I'm looking forward to this interview. So it's my pleasure to welcome to the show, Jake Syreini.
Hey, what's up, man? Thank you. That was beautiful.
Dude, Jake, welcome to the show, bro. I'm glad to have you here, man.
Yeah, no, it's been some time coming. I appreciate that. I think it's been like 2 or 3 months now since that first time we met at the meetup, right, in Tempe.
Yeah, bro. That's like the fun thing, though. It's like when you meet cool people, like I nowadays know that when I meet someone, there's a difference between someone that I'm going to see once and probably never see them again. And then other people, you just catch that vibe. It's like, I know I'm going to keep seeing you like on the journey. And you're absolutely one of those people.
We keep bumping into each other at meetups, saw each other in Vegas. I mean, we run the same circles for sure.
Dude, I love it. So, let's dive into your origin story, bro, because I'm not sure if I got my information correct, but I'm doing some research and I'm like, this guy used to be a rapper. Like, I was just like, what?
Yeah, man, sometimes I feel like I should quit telling people about that. No, I'm just joking. It really, who I am now has a lot to do with what I did during those days. A lot of the things that are kind of second nature to me at this point in my life, it came directly from, the skill sets that I built during those days. So like now, like I'm 36, I live in the suburbs of Phoenix. I got a wife, I got an 8-year-old. He plays hockey. Like I'm a real ass dad, man. You know what I mean? So day to day, I don't feel like a former rapper. So when I talk to you and you bring it up, it makes me blush a little bit, man.
Yeah, bro, that's cool as hell. Like, honestly, it's like, what it was when I found out, I was just like, wow, like I love this guy even more because that's someone that follows after what their dreams are. So I'm curious for you, right? Like, you're 34, you said, right?
36.
What did 36? You look 34, bro. You look younger.
Thank you.
So what did you see for yourself like in life when you were like younger and as you were thinking about like, hey, as I get older, because you came from a small town and recently I met someone else from a small town at a growth conference in Miami and she was telling me her town had 600 people, which is like mind blowing to someone that grew up in like the heart of New York.
Yeah, no. Is that where you grew up? New York?
Yeah, New York,
yeah,
man.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm in the same page as her. So like the town that I grew up in right now has probably got like 1,000, maybe 1,100 residents in it. My high school graduating class had 36 students. You get to know them very well. But yeah, so I grew up in a small town. So like to be a rapper is very, very unique. Not a lot of people in northern Michigan in the middle of nowhere are like one day like, yo, I'm gonna make rap music. But I was like the very first generation that had technology the way that we have it now. The fact that we could do this and we just set all this stuff up, like we're in the same city, but like we're in different place on different sides of the city, but like we're still doing this, you know what I mean? So it's like my generation was the first one to realize like, oh man, all of this technology that like we're hearing about we can use this to do the things that we want to do. So like my journey with rap goes 5 years even before I started doing music, right? Because like I always knew I wanted to do music, but just like where I am at my career now, like I have no idea how I got here. Like I didn't know how I got there either. Cause like one day I was 15 and like I'm like taking the way I started with music is like I would take my favorite songs at the time and I would just like rewrite the lyrics like with my and like change them so it's like my own life. So like the cadences were there and the flows were already there, and I would just like change the words to like talk about me and my friends, kind of, right?
Yep.
One of them was an old song I used to do a bunch of Nelly songs back in the day. Like,
Let's go.
Cause I was like 14 when Nelly came out, 13 maybe even. So like, that's how that started. So like the way I learned flow and I learned how to like work beats and things like that is just from like adapting these songs. So like I could go to school and like impress my friends, like, hey, watch this, and then like junior high would come and then like we would do like talent shows and I would rap and kill it. And like, then I became known for that, like in this little town. So at some point you realize that kind of feels good,
Yep.
So you're like, all right, well, I really enjoy this and it makes me feel great. Like, how do I do more things that make me feel good about myself? Right. It's the name of everything. It's what I'm doing now. It's just chasing something. Right. So got a little bit older, and the way that music really started popping off for me is like people, like when MySpace was popular, right? That was really like that's how long ago, like the origins of it, and it all started like at that time period, because people would like, you'd be able to like put these text blocks in, people would be able to reply to them. It's very common for us now. Everything we do, there's like comments and you can reply to the comments, and we don't even think about it. But back then that was a very unique thing. So me and my friends would like type out raps, like 16-bar raps, like just talking crap about each other, right? Like, man, this guy's like, his girlfriend doesn't let him hang out, and this guy sucks at blah blah blah, and we would literally like type out the raps, and this chain got like 100 raps deep of like just me and like 4 or 5 friends going back and forth, just insulting each other terribly. I hope that has been scrubbed off of MySpace at this point in my life. I assume it has, but it might be out there somewhere. But yeah, that's how it started. And then one day me and my friends were just chilling, and I had a computer and a computer microphone, like one of those ones that came on like the long stick back in the day.
Oh my God, dude, I remember those, bro.
Yeah, dude. And we like literally held the stick.
Those little like plastic ones, like they were like made, dude. Oh my gosh.
We'd have like a little bass and it would come out the bass. Yeah, dude. So we illegally downloaded a recording software off of the internet, and we used that little microphone. And then we're like, you know what? Like, let's take these things we've been typing and like, we're gonna really get them this time, because we're gonna record it and then we're gonna send it to him, the song, and then he's gonna hear us talking about him. And then that just unleashed the floodgates, because that was even more fun than what we were already doing. We were just having fun talking bad about each other, and now all of a sudden we had this thing that was even more fun to do, and it became addicting. So like that just snowballed into everything else happened for like the 9 years after that.
That's insane, right? So you essentially like fell into it by just, you're following your passion, like you were just like acting on that, which is like, I want to highlight that for a second, because it's something that I see people, kind of struggle with, chasing after just the thing that brings them pleasure. Yeah. Right. And, you're saying like you and your friends, like, we're just doing this, like writing out lines and lines and lines, bars, and you're actually rapping it and like just progressing and evolving it. And some people might look like, oh man, you have to be really disciplined to keep showing up and like learning how to rap. It's like, not when you're having fun with it.
Yeah, it's the same with everything now, though, right?
Yep. So what was the transition, right? So you chased after rap, right? You had fun doing that. Where did that lead you to? Because you've come a far way. Like I literally didn't even know you were like associated with rap until I just started doing some research, some background on you. It's like, holy crap, so you've come a far way since then. So what was that trajectory like after rap? Where did it lead you?
Okay, so where it led me is because of what I had to learn how to do to be able to do rap. So again, like living in a small town in the middle of nowhere, it was just me and my 4 or 5 friends that were doing this. Like there were no resources, right? You couldn't even YouTube how to do things yet at this point, right? It was literally just try and error. YouTube didn't come out for like, I was rapping for probably 2 or 3 years before YouTube even came out, man.
There's a kid scratching his head right now. Like, what do you mean YouTube wasn't a thing?
Yeah. Like, how do you learn stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But so like what I had to learn how to do was everything. I had to learn how to make my own beats. I had to learn how to write my own raps. I had to learn how to use the program to record them. Okay. And now all of a sudden we got to a point where we would make songs, and they weren't about our friends. Now they were just about our lives and like the things we were doing and wanted to do. And, you know, you could imagine how some of that went, which I was, 19 to 21 at the time, it was a fun time period in my life. But, I had to learn how to do all of that. And then we got to the place where we had the opportunities to do shows, and we played tons and tons and tons of shows over the years. But at the very beginning of that, I had to make the flyers. So I had to learn graphic design, right? I had to learn how to put this together. I had to learn how to go to Staples and get the flyers printed. I had to learn how to approach business owners and say, hey, can I put this flyer for a rap show on the window of your bakery? And it was so fun. It was so fun that I never for a second thought I'm doing this for free. I never for a second thought like this isn't going to lead. Like I wasn't trying to make a job. I wasn't trying to be a rapper. It was just so fun. That's all I wanted to do. And all I could think about was how to continue doing that more often. Right. And then that just steamrolled from there, man. Right. So by the time I was like, let's just say like done rapping, like I was done rapping before I was done rapping. Like the last like couple of years was like, I would do these shows and they got really big at the end, and there'd be like, a few hundred people there and be packed, and the bars would give the performers all the free tap beer you could drink, unlimited tap beer, the whole show. Right. And, like I was in my early 20s and singles, and I really, really took advantage of that. So like the last couple of years, it wasn't about the fun. And in fact, the last couple of years, it wasn't about the music. It kind of was only about the fun. And it was like, I built this persona for myself, and like, I didn't want to lose that. And then like, I met a chick at a bar, and then like, she never went away. And now she's my wife and my kid's mom. And, so like once I met her, like I kind of stepped away from that a bit, but then stepped away. Now, all of a sudden I have all of the skill set, right? I know how to graphic design. I know how to record audio. I know how to do all of these different things, right? And I kind of just took that into the future with me.
Dude, so I like that, right? I like that a lot, because here's something I noticed. Like a lot of times I speak with people all the time about like, kind of like, hey, should I do this or should I do that? And I find that oftentimes they're afraid to make a decision and pull the trigger because they feel like if I choose this, right, I'm going to lose out on, everything else that I'm not choosing right now. And what they don't realize is if they commit, it doesn't really matter what you commit to. When you fully commit, the things that you start to learn and develop, those skills are stackable and they go with you as you transition into new endeavors, right? New things that you move into. Like, because like you said, like everything that you learned from rapping, right? You learned how to put yourself out there. You learned how to make flyers, graphic design, audio, visual. All of that stuff led into the next chapter of your life. So it wasn't like it was wasted time at all.
Yeah.
It actually like it was a platform now for the next portion.
For sure. And you know what? Like, I don't want to jump too far ahead yet, but like from the rap days to like what I'm doing now at Agent Investors, I do things every single day now that I learned doing music. I know how to do this microphone and setting all this up to talk to you, like, is because I spent 10 years in rap studios, right? Like, all of Ryan Zolan's like Instagram reels, like I make all of them myself. I edit them, I film them. That's from rap music, like all of that, like knowing how to chop things up and giving it a flow, like that's all from rap music. Like graphic designing the flyers and things that you guys all see. All that came directly from rap music, man.
Dude, it's crazy, man. My buddy and I, Keston, were talking about this the other day because Keston, he's a big investor, right? But he used to be a DJ. Right. Yeah. And he likes hosting these like Zooms. Right. And when he hosts these Zooms and he's like teaching people about real estate, everyone just does like the boring kind of stuff. He comes in there with like music, his turntables and all that. He's like, bro, like I'm mixing my old passion with my new passion and it's making this crazy collaboration. And he's like, I wish people would understand that as you move on in life, it doesn't mean you need to throw out everything that came before. Right. You just take it and you evolve with it.
Yeah, for sure. You don't have to put it away.
Dude, I love that. So, you meet you meet the girl at the bar.
Yeah.
She gets you to realize like, hey, maybe you want some. Hey, Jake, I think you want something different. You're like, oh, I think I do want
I
something
think you're
different.
right.
Yeah. And you start to make that shift, right? You start to shift. So where did
Yeah.
that shift take you? Like, where did you go after?
Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, that shift like got dark for a little bit. Like just like everything else, like there's peaks and valleys. And like after rap music was it's very conflicting to say. I'm being very careful about how I say this, because like after rap music was like I got married and had a kid and got a career and like all of these, like, so it's not bad in any way, but like when you're doing music and you're like this person and then you're not this person anymore, like there was this hard kind of pill to swallow of realizing like um the future, I'm not going to be that in the future. I have to be kind of like a normal person in the future. So I actually and that and this kind of leads me back to like how I kind of like pretend like I'm a little embarrassed from rap music, is because in a way I kind of am. So like I was so deep into rap music that like I felt the need to fully withdraw from like 5 years. So I didn't tell a single person for like 5 years that I did music, that I had anything to do with it, right? Like I got married, I had a kid. Like I had a stint of like 3 years where I worked construction, right? Like literally hard hats, work boots, like just trying to like, cause like I didn't like I was trying to be a rapper. So like I didn't have a career path. I didn't go to college, so I didn't know what I was going to do. So like all of a sudden one day I was like, all right, well, I'm trying to marry this chick, and like this guy offered me $24 an hour to go work on this construction site. Like, all right, cool. Well, let's go do that for a while. And then like, so there was a period where it was really hard. Like, so like on paper, I'm getting married and I had my kid and like everything's going really great. But like inside I'm in turmoil, because it's like, I was trying to be a rapper so I could be balling and making money and like traveling and doing all these things. And like, now all of a sudden, like I'm wearing muddy work boots and a hard hat, and like, there's nothing wrong with that. But like, I just knew that's not who I was. So like I had to go through this big grand experiment of like starting to just try things to figure out like who I even was, right? And through that, I found sales, and you can imagine like being good with words, and obviously doing this stuff. Like I kind of fell into sales like really, really easily. I guess you could sales suited me very well. So that's like where the next progression went.
You know what? I like that, right? And I like the fact that there was a transition, and I want to highlight that, right? Because you got great energy, by the way. Like you honestly, like, dude, like it vibrates off you so well, and it could lead people to think like, man, like this guy just has perfect days all the time. He's just walking around all smiles, and I like that you brought it back to the place where it's real. On like here you are chasing after your dream. You're really following your passion. You're waking up every day is exciting. Even the bad days are pretty good because you're at least doing what you love. And then you find a new passion. And, like I ran into something like that similar as well. I know there's a lot of folks that are listening that are across all ages, right? Like at some point you realize you have this new desire, right? And this new thing that you want to cultivate in your life. In your case, it's your now wife, right? You see this future and you're like, crap, like I need to build for this thing. And what I was building over here, I don't quite see how they connect yet. Yeah. And you start on this new path, this new journey. And logically, it makes sense. But then like that internal turmoil, like I like what you said, man, like that internal, like it's at conflict. And this happens to a lot of people. And a lot of people think they're alone. They think they're the only one feeling this. Like they're literally convinced like everyone else is not going through this because everyone else walks around with a smile on their face and pretends it's not happening.
Right.
But you actually acknowledged on the inside, like, no, like this is miserable. And like, this isn't going to work long-term. Like this can't work. Yeah. And like you said, you started to transition and find a new skill set, a new place for you to essentially, it sounds like express kind of like some of your gifts and talents, right? Being able to communicate, being able to put video together. And that was sales for you.
Yeah, for sure. It was absolutely sales for me, just because I could just talk to people and it would just work itself out. Like I realized if I could just be nice to people, they would probably buy whatever I was selling, for real. So like I got into sales selling newspaper ads, like in a small town I grew up in, little tiny newspaper, selling little like paper newspaper ads back in the day. And then that led to kind of like I worked in radio for a little bit, and then I worked at a TV station. I sold ads at that TV station. eventually I realized like advertising is a grind constantly, especially in a small town in the middle of nowhere, like, because these are small businesses in a small town, and their budgets are very, very limited. You know what I mean? They're not trying to spend $19,000 on TV ads, you know. I mean, they need to, but they don't want to, you know.
Yep.
So it's just like, okay, well, I really like sales, but how can I make this even easier, kind of. So this is going to be hilarious. I went from advertising sales to big tobacco. So I worked for the biggest tobacco company in the world for about 3 years as a territory manager, as a sales territory manager. So I was in charge for managing 136 gas stations for the company that owns Newport and Camel cigarettes.
Dude, that's a big company. And that's a big change, especially like to be working with a company of that size and scale coming from a small town like that. I imagine that's got to be just like a total different like mindset shift in the sense of scale.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, this was really a beautiful time for me, because this is where like things started changing, where I started seeing myself as more of a professional, which is silly now because I don't feel that way at all anymore. Like, you know, like we wear shorts and t-shirts, so, you know, like, you know how it is. Like,
so true.
I used to wear suits back then. Like, I don't wear suits. I don't even own a suit right now, you know? But like, what was cool was like, that opened me up to like big corporate, like what big corporate companies are like, and how they train their employees. And it was awesome because they would fly you all over the country for these huge training things. You'd go to Vegas every year. I had a brand new company car every 18 months. You get a company gas card. My wife could drive it on the weekends. Like, it was awesome, man. It was great. It was cool in a lot of ways. And you know, ultimately, they do a really good job of like getting you to forget you work for tobacco. and so like the perks for working for big tobacco are probably better than you even would think. They're like, the perks are amazing, right? But then ultimately you get to a point where like you're in gas stations every day talking to managers and like adjusting their sales volumes and things, and then you're like looking at the people that are buying your cigarettes, and then you're like, oh man, like that guy looks kind of haggard, and it's probably from these cigarettes, you know. So eventually you feel bad enough, and then people, you know, some people tend to move on from there. Other people just stay there for like their whole career and never leave. But I was not one of those people.
Bro, you know what, that's really cool, right? Because like, here's what, like, so far, like, this is what I'm catching. There's like a trend with you, which is, you know, you see something and then you're willing to jump in and experiment on the information, right? Like, experiment with your life, like, and see like, hey, how does this work out? And be self-reflective enough to notice, you know what, this is working or this isn't working, but you know, from your own personal experience.
I appreciate you saying that, man. Yeah. Sometimes that's been at my own detriment, you know, a little bit. And, you know, my parents, I think I've probably drove my parents crazy over the years because of my ability to be like, this isn't working. What's next? You know, and the more you get used to that, the less scary it becomes, and the quicker, like, you know, they say like hire fast, fire fast. Like, I'll do that to myself just as fast as anyone else. Like, yo, this isn't working. I don't like these vibes. Like, yo, they told me I was going to make this kind of money, but these guys have been here for 9 years and they ain't making any money. Like, I'm out, you know? So it's like, it was a little bit at my own detriment, but ultimately it sped ahead my life faster than had I not learned that skill set.
See, all right, so we gotta hang out and talk about that for a second, because I literally had a phone call yesterday. A friend of mine, great friend, calls me and he's like super stressed out because he's just like in this job that he absolutely hates. And like, we talked through it. I was like, listen, what are they paying you right now? Is it enough to cover your bills? Is it like below? Is it like in the middle? He's like, well, it's literally just enough to break even. I asked, do you see potential? Is there any potential to earn more with this position? He's like, no. So I'm like, so you're living paycheck to paycheck with a job you hate that doesn't have any potential to grow. Mm-hmm. Are we looking at the same thing? It's like you're in a relationship with a girl who you hate and she hates you, and it never looks like it's going to get better. Do you stay in that relationship? Like, it's scary, and things will probably get worse right away, you know, but eventually you will find the next thing. And, you know, it's like, to fight off that idea of it's job security, right? It's actually insecurity. Yeah. Because if anything does rattle and shake, you've never learned how to pivot, right? And pivoting is a crucial part of what we do now as an entrepreneur, as a rapper, as you understand this. Pivoting is so crucial, so that I'm sure your parents, like you said, they're freaking out, but you on the inside, you're learning each time. And maybe it's in hindsight that it came to you, but you were learning how to pivot And like you said, those pivots get faster and faster and faster. And ultimately you do start to fall into alignment much sooner.
Yeah, I think there's just something about the way the universe works where it knows where you're supposed to go. Like you're not really supposed to question it, man. You know what I mean? Like you get to a place where it's just like whatever, man. Like everything that's happened so far, even when it felt like it was a disaster, it's all been cool. So it's like who cares? Like let's do it, man. You know what I mean? Like
Bro,
that's it, right?
I love that, man, because it's something I wish like more people like tapped in and understood. And like again, this is like when I say like I navigate a room by frequency, and
Yeah.
like this is why like you stood out to me, like your energy is like some people just like get it and you can tell they're living by a certain energy.
Yeah.
And it's that ability to be structured and go with the flow at the same time, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, I have a destination that I would like to get to. However, how I get there, I'm gonna go with the natural flow of what feels like it'll pull me to that place.
Yeah. 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 Right. I'm with you, man.
Bro, that's insane. So you start realizing big tobacco is not the flow. At some
Yeah.
point, you're just like, oh man, like I kind of feel like I'm a part of this mess. You know, where do you start going from there?
Okay, so I'm gonna be very honest about this next part. And
Uh-oh.
I force it's terrible. I forced Big Back Tobacco to fire me because the way that their corporate structure works is I know you could like just do terribly for a whole year and they'll just they can only fire you. They can only fire people during a 2-week period once a year, and I knew that. So like I kind of like this is where video really came into my life because at this point, like Casey Neistat was really, really big. It was when he was doing his daily vlogs and like he was huge, right?
Yep.
And just like everything else in my life, it was just like, oh, I started watching these and then I started watching all of them. And then it was like, this is cool. It makes me feel good. How do I do this? Like, that's just the story of my life. This is cool. It makes me feel good. How do I get in on this? Right. So I went to Walmart and I bought a $200 GoPro and I started making vlogs, right? And this was during that last year at Big Tobacco. So like instead of like focusing on that career growth, I was like, nah, I'm just gonna ride it out and kind of coast for a year and then do some other stuff during that year. So that way when they do fire me, like I got a plan a little bit, right? So
Just
uh
saddling your horse.
yeah. So I just like and this is like the opposite of rap music. So like I literally would started making videos with nothing, not having any idea how to do, but like I would just film like mass content and then dump it in and chop it up. But what the beauty of that is the first time I ever did that, I put in like a GoPro clip that was like 12 minutes long. It's like, all right, I got to chop this up. So unlike rap music, I was able to Google it or to YouTube it now. Okay, how do you cut? How do you paste? How do you add words to the video? Like how do you do every little tiny thing, right? And that's literally how I learned it step by step. And over that time period, I started making these videos and they would get better and better and better. And then right around the time where the tobacco company did in fact expire, let's say, I was ready to go with videos. So like I just started making videos of that little town and interviewing business owners. This was the time I started doing podcasts for the first time. I had fun with it. And the cool part about it was that first time I took that video and I took that lump chop of video and I chopped it all up, I realized immediately the way that you kind of take clips and piece them together, it feels the same way as when you record music and make beats and piece those things together. Like it felt like the workflow was exactly the same. And I realized that's what I was like. I had an epiphany, like literally sitting at my kitchen table, like, oh my God, this is what I've been missing. Right. And it truly was because I had gone these 5 years pretending like I never did music. And my favorite thing in the world was to do music. Like it wasn't about doing the shows or like making money. It was about the actual physical process of making the music is what I like the most. So all of a sudden video came into play and I got that feeling back. So I just became completely obsessed with it at that point. And it was really, really fun. You know, I was making these videos of my town. I would always feature like well-known areas of the town and then people in that town, they loved it because nobody was ever a YouTuber in the town before. So like they would watch it and the views got really big really quick and it was a lot of fun. And then that really is what brings me to my next transition is how do I get from small town to Arizona? And literally video is what did that. Making those little videos of me just doing stuff in that town. One of my old friends from high school lived in Arizona. He ran his dad's company, and he hit me up one day. It was like, hey, like, you're obviously great at marketing. I see what you're doing with video. I need a director of marketing. Do you want to move to Arizona and do that? And I said, yes, I do want to do that.
Dude,
yes. And like literally like 3 months later, I lived in Arizona.
let's go. Like, I freaking love that, right? Because
Thanks, man.
it came back to like striking in on that passion and finding out. That's one of the things, man. Like, have you seen this in your life? Like, have you had friends that you notice they know what they like, they know what they love, but it's almost like they won't admit it to themselves?
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
Dude, because it's tough. And like, I'm not hating on them, because like I've had the same things. Like, I literally tell people, like, one of the toughest things I've ever had to do was admit to myself I want what I want.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
Right. Yep.
So
Yep.
the fact that you start finding this passion again, and it starts waking up, and then somehow like the doors start opening again.
Yeah.
Like, the doors only open for those that start chasing out, like that are brave enough to start chasing after.
Facts.
And just
Facts,
committing.
bro. Yeah, for real.
So you now are making the transition. By the way, when you're making the transition at this point, you're married, right? Because you're white, you were working with tobacco, right? You've got like a pretty cushy job, and then you're like, hey, I want to go into making videos, it's fun. And my buddy invited me out to Arizona to do this. Like, how was she with that relocation, man?
So okay, so I made it sound like it was 3 months. Like, I could have taken that job just as a salesperson like a year before. So the idea that we could up and move to Phoenix kind of was there for a while, and it would be something I would just like say, hey, should we move to Arizona? Like, it's working out pretty good for our friends. And she'd be like, no, I'm never moving to Arizona. Like, we're from Michigan. Like, why would we move to Arizona? And ultimately, like, over the course of a year, that conversation changed, and then it went from like, you can move to Arizona and just be like a sales guy to being like the director of marketing. It's like, okay, well, that's a different thing. So like, she ended up being really cool about it. Like, I'm very blessed with my wife, because like, she's been with me, like, we've been together for like almost 12 years now. So like, she was with me, like, she met me in the middle of like rapper Jake, right? Well, like the middle of the end, like in the middle of the third act, let's say. That's when she met me. So like, I was very much rapper Jake when she met me. So she's known me through every transition, right? She's been there every step of the way. So from rapper to video guy to big tobacco to wearing khakis every day to like being the construction guy now to like all of these different things. I don't know how she's done it, but she's navigated all of them with me. She's been nothing but supportive. If I have an idea, she says, yes, do it. We'll figure it out, So it's just like, wow. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have, her being that cool, I would literally not have been able to do any of this. And it's like, a lot of this time, like, I don't even really believe in myself all of that much, but it's like her being so willing to support the crazy things that I do sometimes, like, gives me that extra kick of like the energy that I need to make it happen then. So like, I'm very blessed when it comes to like her ability to transform with me. And it's awesome. So now that we've been doing this for so long, like, her ability to mold and adapt, like, she's acquired that just the same as me now,
Bro, I love that. And that makes me want to ask the question. Like, and I want to ask this question to get some like clarity for some people, okay. Right? Is it possible, like, based off of your own personal experience, do you see that it's possible to take that leap of faith that everyone always talks about, like jumping off that cliff, even when you don't necessarily believe fully in yourself yet, but borrowing someone else's faith in yourself, in you?
Sometimes that's all you have, man. Like, sometimes that's all you have. Like, a lot of these things sound cool that I'm telling you about, but like me, like my self-consciousness, in my brain, they're all failures. Like, I've failed at everything I've ever done, right? Agent Investors is like the only thing I haven't failed at. And that sounds crazy considering the things that I've done, but that's like my own like weird insecurity. That's how I look at it. Like these things didn't make me rich, so I failed. Like, and I know that's not the case, but that's how I felt. So if it wasn't for her trusting me and believing in me, I wouldn't have had, like, that was all I had to hold on to, Dude, a lot of the time.
I freaking love that, man, because that's like, and that's probably like a whole nother conversation we got to jump into one day, which is like, how do we measure success and wealth? Like, what are the parameters around which we do that? Yeah. And sometimes like, we really do need to have the right people in our corner, the right people in our court. Like, I call it the campfire effect, We need to be standing at the proper campfire with the right people, because we don't always see clearly for ourselves what's actually going on. But sometimes the people around us, they can point it out for us. So it's our job to, choose that counsel wisely, right? Choose our partners wisely, choose our friends wisely, choose like our connections wisely. And, that's something that sounds like you have with her. She sounds freaking awesome. So you guys come out to Arizona, right? You relocate entirely, coming into a big city, which is a big difference. Like getting out into like Phoenix versus like a town of 600, 6,000, like that's
couldn't be more different.
Yeah. So what was that transition like? Like as you got here, like how did that feel?
Bro, honestly, it was, I was gonna say it's terrible, and it was terrible. It felt great, but it was terrible at the same time. Like, so like driving, like I just like stared at the palm trees in the mountains for like the first like 6 months I lived here. Like those are actually like, now I don't even see the palm trees anymore. But like I remember very clearly for that first year, I was like, damn, I live somewhere where there are palm trees. This is awesome. When you live at the top of the country, like palm trees are a big deal, right? So like that was cool for me. And it's like, it was amazing, like driving up to Camelback and like seeing the mansions on the mountains for the first time, right? That was like the first time I was really exposed to some of these ideas of like driving through Paradise Valley, and in every direction there are houses that are $1 million or more, and it's like, how are there this many? Where I grew up, people don't have $1 million, like there are no people with $1 million houses, like there are no $1 million houses where I grew up, right? So like to see 5,000 $1 million houses from Camelback Mountain, that's really what started my transition of like, what do all of these people know that I don't? Because all of these people like don't have some magical gift, right? They just like, what do they know? So like that really started to change everything for me. But like at the same time, I moved here, and like the first year I lived in Arizona, I made like 37,000 the first year. I had a wife, I had a kid that was 3 at the time. So like financially and like black and white, like it was the first like 2 or 3 years, first 2 years here were terrible, like financially terrible, right? But because they got so dark, that's where I started researching real estate and wholesale, and that is what opened the gates to learning about real estate, which ultimately led to where I'm at literally right now. Like I'm in a building right now that some people would beat each other up to be in, you know what I mean?
Dude, that's insane. So it's funny, right? Because like I always like emphasize to this, right? Our lowest moments, right? Like our darkest moments, those are actually the moments that start to create the opportunities for the next evolution. Right. And I always say, like, this is something I say, and like, you tell me if you agree, that the road to success and the road to failure are in fact the exact same road. The only difference is the road to failure meant you stopped before you got to your destination. Right. But it's the same road. Like you just got to keep going. So you found yourself out here. Things got tough. Things got hard. I mean, 37,000 with like a wife and a child, like that is, oh my gosh, like that's tough. That's rough, especially out here.
And I was paying like $1,800 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment also.
Yeah, dude. Like, so that is like just essentially there's no money. There's more month at the end of the month.
Yeah. Like, it wasn't great. But we had a lot of fun. You know what I mean? We got very industrious. We got very creative with the little bit of money we had. We learned how to take advantage of everything there is to do in this city for families that doesn't cost any money. We got really, really good at that. And now like we can kind of do whatever we want. But we still don't ball out. Like it's like we're still just going to parks and like, going to like family days at the Diamondback games, and like, it still benefits us now in some way.
So let me ask you this, right? And like, this is like a serious question for like people that are like, maybe like in that same position right now, where it's just like, you're at the place where it's like, all right, financially, like it hasn't turned on yet, right? It's just like the financial faucet hasn't turned on. Like it's a struggle. Where's your mind at? Like, where's your mindset at during that time? Like, is it like, let me just go back to Michigan, like, screw this, like.
Oh, bro. Yeah. Yeah, dude, we almost moved back to Michigan once every year we lived here. We've been here 5 years now. Like a year ago, we were just like, hey, this is all right. But like, we could probably make the same amount of money. It'd go a lot further in Milwaukee,
That's my market, bro. That's where I buy houses.
Oh, dude, I got people. We'll talk about this afterwards. I got people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just put in 3 offers in Kenosha this week.
Oh, get out of here, bro.
Yeah, for real. Anyways, 2. I take it back. 2. 1 didn't work. But dude, so like, yeah, like the first 5 years, like every year we had a moment where it's just like, is this worth it? And you know what? Every year it keeps getting more and more worth it. Now we're at a place where it's just like we can't ever go back. Like, you know, who we've become is so important that who we are now couldn't handle living there. Like who we are now, like we'd be shunned there because our mindset is so big that like, and I don't mean small town people have little mindsets, but like when you've never left there, you see the world differently. From like those people haven't seen $5,000 million homes in Paradise Valley. You know, they haven't seen $12 million houses on the side of hanging off the side of mountains, really, like I have, you know. So it's just like the mindset we have has grown to the place where like we couldn't go back to that place.
Well, you know what, Jake, you're tapping in on something that's really like crazy important, which is like you got this exposure, right? And it wasn't just like a, you know, a visual exposure. Like you got this proximal exposure. Like you actually physically were there. You're seeing it, you're touching it, you're breathing it, you're realizing it's real. And that sort of exposure, like once the mind expands, it can't go back, right? And I appreciate what you say there, because there are people that think about it all the time. They think about like maybe wanting to go out, and maybe then they're not sure what will happen, right? They're not sure. They're afraid of getting hurt. And you just said, like, I like, this is why I'm highlighting it, because I want people to recognize, like, you're like, no. You're afraid of getting hurt? You absolutely will get hurt. Like you're gonna freaking, like you're gonna slide down this mountain face
you're
first.
Definitely gonna get hurt.
Like,
yeah.
But like after you're done and you stand back up, you're stronger for it. Like it's always worth it if you're willing to see it through. And it's something that has to be experienced. Like it's, you know, as much as like we could talk till we're blue in the face about it, but until someone gets and experiments in their own personal life, like it won't quite make sense.
Yeah, you know, for real. Yep.
So let me ask, right? As you came out here now, you're starting to get this exposure. You're starting to see all the stuff. Your mind is literally like getting blown. And I felt the same way when I went to Paradise Valley. I was like, I called my mom. I was like, Mom, they got houses built into the mountain. Like, what the heck is this? It was insane. Yeah. Insane. And, you know, like being around different people has ultimately like changed the way I view things, right? So for yourself, like you got to spend some time with a lot of different people being out here. You're exposed to a lot of different real estate investors. You've been exposed to guys like Dean and Tony. You've just been exposed to a lot. Like how has proximity to these different people, how has it changed you and changed your life?
It's everything, man. Like honestly, it's literally everything, all the way back to the small towns. Like in those small towns, I gravitated towards the successful businessmen, right? And those guys would give me ideas that would take me to the next step, right? And then in that next step, I'd meet other guys that were at a different level, and they would plant ideas into my mind that I would take forward into the future. And now, like you said, you know, when I first moved here, I kind of had the same experience as you. You know, you roll up on that mountain on the south side of Camelback. I remember I literally just pulled my car over and I got out and I just stood there and I looked at it like, oh my, like this is crazy, right? But like fast forward like 3 years, like I've been in some of those houses now, right? So it's just like that proximity is very real, because like once you start meeting the people that live in those houses and like going into them and like seeing what's inside of them, and sometimes realizing that the people that live in those houses are regular dudes like me and you, like that's probably the number one thing. Is like a lot of, like, I worked with one-on-one with Dean Graziosi every day for 18 months. I would get to his office, and the first thing every single morning that we did was me and him would sit across from his desk. Every morning I would sit across from his desk, me and him alone in his office, and go over like what we were doing that day or what our tasks were for the week. Literally every day for a year and a half, me and Dean Graziosi basically one-on-one, right? And the number one thing I took away from that is he is a regular dude. Like, even now I've been away. I saw him in Vegas, and like we met him like in the back room, and like I hadn't seen him in like a year and a half. I was like, oh man, that's Dean Graziosi. And like I approached him like that kind of, and like I was like, hey Dean, do you remember me? And he's like, Jake, you sat at my desk every day for a year and a half. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I was so embarrassed to say I said that. I was like, I know, but you're Dean, man. Like, but like he's just a regular dude. So it's just like the biggest thing where I'm at in my life now is like hanging out with these investors. You know, I'm with Ryan every day, you know, all of the people that I get to know because I'm with Ryan every day, like these people that like you see them on the internet and they're ballers, like people driving Lambos and like, you know, doing this, wearing $75,000 Rolexes. Like, I had breakfast in Vegas and there must have been like 300K in watches at the table. Like literally, like I mean that very much. And it's just like these people are just like they're bros, kind of like they're just they're regular people. And it's just like, okay, all they did was the same thing that I'm doing. It's like you think that your journey is like this, and it's like this, you know what I mean? And it's just like these people realize that, and like the sooner you realize that, the sooner like you can start making adjustments to become one of them.
Bro, I love that, right? And like I'm so happy to hear you say that, because that's one of the things that like I think everyone needs. Like you only figure that out for yourself when you actually get that proximity where you're like, oh my gosh, like this guy, this girl feels just like me. Like I can feel it off of them, like they're just a normal person.
Yep.
Right. And then you realize, oh, they can do it, I can do it. Like any of us can do it. In fact, I'm in the middle of doing it right now. We're all in the middle of doing it right now. But that only comes if you actually take that leap, if you actually go out there and go put yourself in those rooms where it's uncomfortable, right? Or where it's like you feel like you might potentially be embarrassed by raising your hand and saying something like, is this going to sound stupid? Perfect. Say that thing. Like right. It takes us so far. So I love that, man. Like I love the fact that you share that story, dude, because what's cool is you see yourself as like a normal person, right? And you are a normal person. We're all normal people. However, there's someone that's looking at you and they're like, dang, Jake is freaking like killing it. And like, they would be so afraid to come and approach you. And you're just like, no, like, come talk to me. Come ask me like, hi, like, talk to me.
Yeah, that's the craziest thing ever to me, actually. Because for real, it's just like, I will literally tell you anything about that I know. Like if anyone came to me, it was like, Jake, what do you know about this? And I might not be much, but here's what I got. Like, you know what I mean? That's what it's all about. And that's where it's always been for me. And that's what I'm most excited about for the future is like all of these times there has been somebody like that has been at a higher statue of me that like I wasn't prepared to like just go and talk to because of their higher statue. Now I'm at a place where I realize that like everyone is just normal people, and like you can literally just go say what's up to anybody. Like it's cool. And like I'm very focused on like making sure that I'm always like that too. You know what I mean?
Bro, I freaking love that. So, you know, I want to tap into, you know, really quickly too, what's going on with Agent Investor? Because like you're clearly someone that follows passion, right? Yeah. So it's just like anything that you get behind, it's a passion project. I feel like at least that's the feel I get from you, you know, and like with what I've seen you've been doing with Agent Investor, I've been seeing how you've been getting vocal on social media and how you guys have been growing it. Like I've seen, like when I came out to Arizona, Ryan's event was actually one of the first events I stopped at. And I was just like, yo, this kid has got some like really dope energy too. Like he's got some good vibes. Like I did not know of him before getting to Arizona.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's like, what's going on with that with Agent Investor for you?
Dude, Agent Investors is growing out of control. Like, it's better than I could have ever imagined. It's amazing. Everything is going perfectly. I think it's divine in a way. I think it's the kind of the culmination of every single thing that I've ever done. You know, me and one of my best friends lives out here too from Michigan. We graduated high school together, and we were talking a few weeks ago, and he's just like, bro, like we talked about all of the failures, all of the jobs, all of the businesses that didn't work out, right? Like I started a t-shirt company like 4 years ago that I worked on for like 2 months and then just was like, I'm done with this. But then Agent Investors needed merch. And I'm like, well, I know how to make merch. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like everything, the videos, the Instagrams, like the course, like I filmed every video of Ryan, like myself. I edited them all myself. I built the landing pages and the websites and the email market. Like literally I built it all myself with my bare hands. So it's like Asian Investors is literally, it's a passion project more than I can ever explain, but it's like my baby in a way too. Like I know it's like Ryan's thing, but like the back end of it all is like it means so much. It's like a child to me, man. Like literally. So like Asian Investors, teaching people how to do deals off of the MLS, working with real estate agents, no money out of pocket. Like I'm fascinated with the fact that you can literally just call a real estate agent, tell them what you're looking for, and they'll go hunt it. They're really good at finding these kind of things. It's literally their job. They bring them back to you. You analyze it. You tell them yes or no. If it's a yes, they do the paperwork. It's it's the best thing in the world. I love it so much. Like I'm not even a real estate. I just told you my whole story, and nowhere in there did I say I do wholesale deals. Am I an investor? Nowhere. Like, but me and Ryan built Asian Investors. I filmed every video. I edited it. So like the course, I could probably state for you word for word. You know, I take all the, when people go to our website and want to do a call because they want more information, I take every single phone call myself. Like,
let's go.
So it's just like, besides Ryan, I have every bit of information trapped in my head. And when you have, just like everything we've been talked about, when information gets in your head, you're forced to use it, right? So that's where I'm at now. It's just like things keep happening, and I'm like, oh well, why am I not doing deals? And like, I have a friend that's a real estate agent in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Why don't I just call her and tell her what I'm looking for and let her go find it? And I did that. And like, she brings me back like 5 deals the first day. And I'm like, well, these 3 are deals. One of them didn't work out. Yesterday, we put in 2 offers. And I'm like, I'm not a real estate, like, I'm not an investor. I'm not a wholesaler. Like, I might seem like that because of the crew I run with, but like, I'm a marketing guy, right? I'm a communication guy. I'm a sales guy. But like, just being exposed to this, you just see like, yo, just do the stuff and like, it'll work, right? Just do the stuff.
I love this, man, because like you're tapping on something so crucial, which is like you're showing up authentic, right? You're showing up like so many people get into a new room and they try to change to fit the room. It's like, yo, be you in the room and let the room add to you and you add to the room. But you're not really adding value if you just totally try to assimilate into the room and kill off yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah. I don't pretend to be anything I'm not. I don't pretend to know anything. So what I love about where we're at, like Ryan's team in our office, he has 3 acquisitions guys, and they're all under the age of 24. Like a year and a half ago, none of them had anything to do with real estate. In the last 3 months, they've done 1.4 million in assignment fees. And like, they're young bucks, like they're so young. Like I'm 36, like I'm a grandpa in the office, like like I'm so old in the office. But like today, like, because I'm starting to do deals now, there's a lot I don't know. So like literally on the other side of this wall are all of Ryan's acquisitions guys. When we get off of this call, I'm going over there and they're going to teach me how to do comps, because I literally don't even know how to comp a property. I don't know. So I'm going to go sit with some under 24-year-olds and they're going to show me how to do it, because they know how to do it and I don't. You know what I mean? So it's like, even now, like there's no ego, you know. I'm not even saying I'm humble. It's just like they have the information that I don't have. So like, I got to go get it. You know what I mean?
Bro, I love that. And that's the power of getting into the right rooms. Like that's the power of like aligning yourself with the right people. And of course, it's like literally, dude, like you show up authentic. Like people could sniff it out of you, like when you're showing up and like you're inauthentic. Like you show up so real where it's like you're gonna be welcomed into a room. And if you're not welcomed into a room, that's a blessing. Like that's divine intervention. Like that's right. You're not meant to be in the room. If you're not being welcomed into it and you're showing up authentic, that's a room, trust me, you don't even want to be in. Right. And you get this.
Yeah. You know, like, I don't really, I've never really said this to anyone, but like, I have this weird, like, I feel like myself, like an energy barometer in a way. Like, I feel like I could just read energy. Like, and this is what you're talking about. When you go into a room, like, you know, if you're supposed to be there or not. And like, you know, like you go into a room and you're like, I need to talk to that guy, but like, he hasn't said anything. Like, I've always had like, and I know you have it too. Like, I've had this uncanny ability to like, just feel energy and like, just let it guide me.
Dude, I call it following the warm feeling, because I get like, it's no joke. It's like a little warm feeling like in my tummy. And like it'll start to like, if I'm quiet enough, it'll direct me like a compass. Yeah. And I'm just like, all right, like I got to go over there. Like, I don't know why, but
I love it so much.
Feelings telling me go that way.
Yeah, for real, man. So, I mean, it's the gist of everything, man. It's just, you just just let it guide you, and that's why we're here, so kind of bring it back to agent investors. I mean, like, we've scaled faster. We've done in our first 2 months, we launched the course April 1st, and what we've done in our first not even 2 months, our first like 5.5 weeks, like if we would have done that for the first year, I would have been happy. So like, like literally, like we set our goals before we launched, and it is like what we were talking about, like, hey, if we're here by the end of summer, we're in great shape. Like we did that in the first 48 hours, like literally, like our 6 months goal, we did in less than 48 hours. So,
that's a testament. Honestly, that's a testament to the foundation that's been built. That's a testament to the team and the people that are running this, that are running the show. That's a testament to the work that you've done, to the work that Ryan's done. That because people at the end of the day, and this from sales, like we buy based off of, that feeling, right? Like it's the guarantee, it's the value, right? And values are ultimately like the promises that people make to us. Mm-hmm. And you guys make a promise and then you back that promise up. Right. Yeah. And like, that's what I freaking love. Like, that's why, like, I'm in like full support. Like I was rocking my agent investor shirt yesterday, matter of fact.
Love it, man. Thank you. We've been seeing them, when people wear them and they're on their Instagram and stuff, like, we got to get better at commenting, but we be seeing them when people be wearing them. The team is always sharing it. Like, yo, this guy's wearing an AI shirt. Like, we love it, man. We love it so much. We love it so much.
It's freaking rad. So, I want to be respectful of your time, man. Good, man. I like to always wrap these shows up with about 2 questions, right? Okay. 2 questions that are like some of my favorites, right? So one, I'm a big reader. Like I'm always like digging into a book. Books are like kind of like, that's what gave me my first bit of exposure into thinking bigger, right? Okay. It was a teleportation device into like another world. And it's just, they've changed my life. So for you, have you picked up any books over the years that were just total paradigm shifts? I mean, like, you read it once and like your mind just never quite went back to being the same.
Yes. Okay. So number one, and I don't know the name of the book, so don't judge me for that. First of all, anything by Brendan Burchard, like out of the book, like I'm obsessed with. He has a book. It's a little black book. I think it has gold writing on it. I can't remember what it's called, but like when I worked for Dean, we had he had like cases of them for some reason. I think he partnered with Brendan on something. And like, I got my hands on like 9 of them one day. And like, I went on vacation in Wisconsin. I was like, just giving them to my little cousins. I was like, yo, you need to read this, So like anything by Brendan Burchard, if you could find the little black book with like the gold writing on the front, like that one, it's thin, it's real small. But it's that I can't believe I can't think of it because like that is a game changer for me.
That's funny. I literally use his high performance planner. Like this is Brendan Burchard's plan.
Yeah. That's amazing. So great one by him. The Underdog Effect by Dean Graziosi, another great one. Not just because I work for him, but like coming from a small town, like this whole story we've talked about on this podcast, like it sounds really cool now, but like most of it has sucked, honestly. Like it's been frustrating and stressful. I've cried a bunch of times, it's been hard, really, really hard. And it's always more hard. And it's just like the underdog effect teaches you how to like, you feel like I felt disadvantaged because I grew up in this small town. Like, like there are people in Scottsdale who grow up in mansions, like driving Porsches, like, and they don't know anything other than that. Like, I didn't know any of that. Like, so like, I always felt disadvantaged because of where I grew up, but like the underdog advantage, like literally my whole story is an underdog advantage. It's like, I didn't have any pathways to get the things that I want. So I literally had to just make them all up. And that's what I've done, man. So like, that's a great book to like kind of reformulate your mindset.
Bro, I love that. And you're absolutely right, where sometimes like people think having more resources is going to be a good thing for them, but it kills off resourcefulness. Right? And that's what you're forced to develop when you are coming from less. Like, so it's like, it's all about how we frame it. I love that you frame it. And like, I'm the underdog effect. I'm definitely getting that book. That one's going to get added to the library, bro.
It's a good one. All right. So I'm going to give you one more. And this is I saved this one for last on purpose. This is easily my number one.
I write these down.
All right. Neville Goddard. Are you familiar with Neville?
Bro, I freaking love, like no one else ever like mentions him, man.
Yeah. Okay. So The Feeling is the Way.
I knew you were going to say that book, bro. It's such a good I need to listen to that.
You know the energy you talked about the day we met, like that's it, man. Like
bro,
this is going to sound crazy for anyone who doesn't know his concept. So I'm telling you, if you're into energy and manifestation, read this book specifically. It's from like 1913. And the way that he talks about when you go to sleep at night, to literally put yourself in that position and imagine what you want, feel it, smell the smells, the feeling. We have all been told this thing about manifestation, that you have to like feel like it's actually happening. But the way that Neville does it right before you fall asleep, to me, is the most powerful thing out of any of these kind of self-help books that there is. So like that's number one for me all day.
Dude, that book, the first time I listened to it, like I just remembered like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. The way he broke it down, he's like, dude, every night you go to sleep and like you have a meeting, like you basically,
Yes.
go and meet God every single night. And you just don't remember, like you're talking to universe every single night.
Yep.
And like how you show, like, how do you want to show up? If you don't prepare for that meeting, you're just going to show up with all the grime and dirt from the day and just ask for the same garbage you already asked for.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy cow, that makes a massive, massive difference. And then you realize it falls in line with like the things that we learned in like Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
Yep.
Right. Before you go to bed each night, read your desire. When you wake up in the morning, read it again immediately. So it's the first and last thing. It sandwiches your day. And dude, that's awesome, man. I love that. I just geeked out a little bit.
Good, man.
So,
excellent.
So let me ask you this question. This is one of my favorite questions. And one day I will, in fact, put a book together. Like I'm manifesting that right now. So you can quote it. I'm going to put a book together on the answers from this. Okay. Because people have given some really cool answers. So I want you, Jake, to imagine that tomorrow you wake up, and as you start to blink your eyes into consciousness, you realize you don't know anything. Like you don't remember anything. You don't remember your name. You don't remember your friends. You don't remember the experiences. You don't remember videography, any of the skills, relationships you've built. Like I'm talking, you are a total blank slate. Now, you're not freaking out. It's not a Saw movie. You're not scared for your life or anything like that. You're just peacefully getting up. And as you open your eyes, a thought comes to you, right? And this thought, when it arrives to you, you don't question it, right? You just accept it fully as truth, 1000%. There's no doubt. It's good. It's locked in there. And this thought is now the foundation of essentially everything else to come. What would you ideally like this first thought to be?
The other people will help you. Because if you don't know anything and you have no way to do anything, you don't know how to do anything, you don't remember how to do the things that made you money, how to exist. Like if everyone else remembers that, all you got to, in the words of the great Brent Daniels, all you have to do is talk to people.
Yo, let's go. It's so true. I love that, man. That is a testament. Like that's right there. Like that shows me like at your core, you are approachable and you know how to ask for help and you know how to give help, which is amazing. And that's a skill in and of itself.
Appreciate it, bro.
Jake, I had a lot of fun with this episode. So I want to know, for people that are like, dang, this dude Jake's got some good energy. I really like him. I want to get connected to him. How can they go and find you? Like, where should they go to connect with you?
Anywhere on the internet, mostly Instagram. 99% of the time it's Instagram, but I'm on the internet, just my name, Jake Syreini, JakeSyreini. I know I should simplify that, but it was available.
No worries. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that in the description below. So for anyone that's like, this needs to make it super simple, super easy, just scroll down and click Jake's name and you'll be able to follow him on IG.
Yep, absolutely. And then agentinvestors.com is the website. If you want to know what we're doing with MLS deals, either check that out or hit up Ryan Zolan's Instagram, of course.
Yo, and I highly recommend, if anyone's like contemplating getting into wholesaling real estate, this is literally the cheat code. I've done a few deals with agents, and they have been some of the easiest deals I've ever done.
Yeah. Yep.
Like so much to the point where I'm actually trying to figure out why it's not my entire business model. Like sometimes it's silly. Like we know exactly what works perfectly. And I'm literally doing a deal with it. I was on the phone with an agent literally this morning, bro. Like, so
Love it.
I would check them out. If you have no idea what that is, you need to go take a look at it immediately. So that link's going to be below as well. Agent Investor, go check it out. It is a passion project. They poured their heart and soul into it. And what's amazing is it works. It works ridiculously freaking well. So much so that they're actually influencing other investors who have been in the game, veterans in the game, to begin changing their business model. That's how revolutionary this is right now. So check it out. You heard it first here, or hopefully you heard it somewhere else. Jake, dude, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, man. I appreciate you giving your time and energy to the crowd. And I want to let everyone know if they got any value to go and share this and to go plug in, reach out to Jake, send him a DM, let him know what your biggest takeaway was, because that's the only way we know sometimes that you even heard this, that it resonated with you. So go let him know what your favorite takeaway was from this episode. Jake, I appreciate you, bro.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. I'll see you at the event this weekend.
Yes, sir. It's
All
gonna
right.
be fun.
Later, man.